Uh, Hello, my name is Rob Fish. I'm the Education and Outreach Coordinator for the Watershed Protection and Restoration Program for Anne Arundel County. Today I thought I would take you through our website to show you all the various resources that we have up there and maybe how you can utilize them during your projects and during your coursework here. So why don't we go ahead and get started. To access our site, the easiest way is to type in aarivers, AARIVERS .org. And that is just really a redirect to, as you'll see here, the Anne Arundel County website in itself. This brings you to the WPRP, and I'll say that a couple of times, WPRP, and that stands for the Watershed Protection and Restoration Program. But that brings you to our landing page. At the top here, you can see that we are part of the Department of Public Works at Anne Arundel County, and then the restoration program there. That's where you'll come to. As we page down, I'll go through a bunch of these resources, but at the top here, you see in the spotlight, and these are dynamic. They'll change every now and then. Right now, we have up there our annual report, if you wanted to check that out, and I'll get into a little more detail on that a little bit. And our restoration projects as a highlight, and that will probably stay there for the most part. And of course, we have on the side here, you can see the various departments within the Department of Public Works. And then down below here is the Watershed Protection and Restoration Program. Underneath that, we have some submenus related to various topics. The first one you see here, and I'll just kind of go through these really briefly, and you can explore these on your own because there is a lot of good pertinent information regarding our program on each of these tabs. But I'll start at the top here and talk about the MS4 permit. And that is the permit that we get at a federal and state level in regards to the county's stormwater sewer system. This permit is issued by the state of Maryland, MDE. It's a 5-year permit. It was just reissued in 2014, February of 2014, and expires in 2019. And you can actually read the current permit here. I'll click on it and just show you what the current permit looks like. It's basically a set of guidelines that the county has to follow in regards to the storm sewer system and the regulations regarding that system. And in this is various information regarding impervious surface treatment, outreach recommendations, and what's the word I'm looking for there? Requirements. Information about our illicit discharge program, and various other things. I suggest you take a quick read at it. The permit itself is only about 8 or 10 pages, and then there's various appendices regarding that. And then down below that, we have our annual reports that we submit to the Maryland Department of the Environment, and you can see those for the last 6 or 7 years here. We're currently working on our 2017, so that should be up probably early spring 2018 here. So that'll be, as soon as that's completed, that'll go up here. I'm going to go back, start at our landing page, and continue down the list here. The Chesapeake Bay TMDL, that is the total maximum daily load, and that's basically the pollution diet regulated by EPA and the Chesapeake Bay program that allows the county certain amount of pollutants. In particular, this program is really looking at phosphorus, nitrogen, and total suspended solids. You can see, read about it here. We have links to the Maryland Department of Environment's webpage if you wanted to read their requirements on the program. You can link to our what we call our watershed implementation plan, and that's really the roadmap that the county is taking to meet these total maximum daily loads that have been implemented. And then further down here, we have localized TMDL restoration plans. There are certain rivers that have individual total maximum daily load requirements for specific either impairments or, as you can see here, for bacteria. These are really the plans that we're following to meet individual TMDLs for individual rivers or individual watersheds. And you can read those here. And of course, we have our reports that we have to submit on a yearly basis to MDE. And these are broken into programmatic and implementation milestones. The programmatic milestones are really the building blocks that we use to partner or build capacity internally and externally to meet the goals of the program. And of course, our implementation milestones are really the on-the-ground activities that show results. So those are their restoration projects, other outreach requirements that we have to implement are reflected in those reports too, and other partnerships that the county has with either NGOs or various watershed groups in the area. Going back to that landing page, I'll page it out a little bit because some of these are redundant on the side and down in here. The Watershed Protection and Restoration Program is really formed by 3 functional units. One is our Watershed and Assessment Planning Group, and that's the group that is really responsible for our watershed assessments, but they are also in charge of our fee and in the creation of the billing for the fee. And I'll click on this real quick to give you an idea. It really has a good description on the group there. But even better is that there are individual team members that you can contact regarding specific issues. Raghu is the engineer manager for that group, and he is in charge of all these staff here. And the staff have various roles from GIS work through the billing work, which I'm not really going to get into, but one of the major drivers of that program is their watershed studies, which is going to be a big component of what you're going to use in your studies here. At the top here, you see our major watersheds and non-tidal streams. That's basically a map of Anne Arundel County and all 12 watersheds. And you can see these little blue lines in here. Those are the actual streams that run through our county. So that's good information for you. Going back, we talk about our collection guide for watershed studies. When we do a watershed study, and I'll talk about those in a second too, this is the guidelines that we're following. And then our rapid wetland assessment reports, that is also a protocol that we follow when we get into wetland delineations. So down below here, we have all 12 watersheds listed. Most, if not all, of these watersheds have been looked at on some level. All of them have, most of them have a complete report here. Some of these are a little old at this point, but the Severn River study actually was done about 10 years ago. So the information there is still good, but there could be further information regarding that watershed that we haven't really designated. As you go down, you can see each watershed has its own report. There are some concept restoration plans that came out of each of these watershed assessments. That's not necessary to say that these projects are going to happen, but the consultant that actually put these the assessments together came up with these, so we wanted to share those. There are 2 watersheds that are still being assessed, the Herring Bay and the Middle Patuxent. We expect those probably late in 2018 to have those completed. And what happens when we do a watershed assessment is basically we hire consultants to go out to that specific watershed, and they walk basically every stream or try to walk every stream mile in that watershed to get an assessment of the conditions, the current conditions of a particular stream, particular river, and we use those reports to help drive our restoration program. The consultants will rank these watersheds by priority, and you can see some of the, in each of these watershed assessments, they are will have a ranking for priorities of restoration. So I suggest if you have a particular watershed you're interested in is to click on that report, and it gives a good idea of the good areas, supposedly what we call good areas, and then some not so good areas that need some attention. I'm going to back out of the watershed assessment and planning group and go to our restoration group. This is really the nuts and bolts of our program. These are the guys and gals that get the projects in the ground to help meet the permit requirements. Down below you can see we have a listing of each project manager, and recently we've added the watersheds that particular project manager is responsible for. So if you are thinking about a project in the South River watershed, you would contact Jeff, and then so on and so forth. So this is, you click on their name and their email will pop up, and you can shoot them an email. Further on the restoration link here, we have on the side project listing and project map. When I click on project listing, this is going to bring up a listing of certain projects that we wanted to highlight. This is not an end-all be-all the projects that we have going on, but a list of 15 or 20 projects that are going on throughout the county in various stages. As you can see, some are in the design phase, some are in construction, some are completed. But this will give you a good idea of some of the projects that we're working on. And when we click on one, it gives you a quick background on the project, a nice image slideshow, some more details, project status, a little bit of the details regarding the drainage area and the estimated pollution reduction for that project, and a link to the project manager. And in some cases, we have design reports available if you wanted to read a little bit of the background on that particular project. And then you'll see this button here, view projects on map. This is kind of a recent addition to our website. We have a map that'll pop up here hopefully soon. And this map really shows most of the county's completed projects over the last several years. This is not necessarily comprehensive at this point. It's something we are constantly updating. We're always finding new projects from years ago that might not have made it onto the original that we're always populating up. But as soon as this pops up, I'll show you what this looks like. Okay. You can see various dots and squares. That doesn't tell you much, but when you click on the legend here, you get an idea of what those dots and squares represent. We have both county projects on here and NGO or private projects on here. They're designated by different shapes and different colors depending on the status of that particular project. Some are completed, some are in progress. So this, and you can zoom in and out, or if you wanted to find your house to see if we have a particular project near your place, you can type in your address here, and it'll zoom right in and show you any projects that are either planned or completed in your neighborhood. So this is a good tool to find out what's going on throughout the county. Again, we try to update this on a regular basis. We have our wastewater treatment plants listed on here. The city of Annapolis is highlighted here. And then, of course, the watersheds are also highlighted. Those are the different colors that you see here. So that's another good tool for you to play around with, and always looking for feedback if you have any issues. I'm going to go back to the restoration side here. As on the side, we talk about our step pools, storm conveyance systems. This is really a good background on what an SPSC is and how it was created. The SPSC design calculator is here. That is going to be updated in the next year or so, so that'll change also. And then, of course, our ecological assessment and evaluation team, they are the folks that go out and evaluate and monitor some of our streams. We don't monitor every stream. We have a particular set of streams that we are constantly watching, and you can find more details on that below here. But also, we have the biological monitoring program and then the surface water monitoring program. Those are the big major components of the ecological assessment and evaluation program. The biological monitoring talks about the protocols that we follow, the MBSS program, which is the groundwork that we follow when we do biotic assessments. You can find specific biological condition reports here. Not all rivers or creeks are represented here, but we have 2 rounds. We do various rounds every couple of years regarding biological conditions. We're in round 3 right now, which will be updated as they come in. But these are good reports on the biological conditions in certain areas here. Oops. I'm going to go back to the ecological assessment and evaluation team and show you what the surface water monitoring program is all about. This gives a brief overview of the program. This specific site will actually be updated in the coming months. We're hoping to have more real-time data on here regarding the surface water program and tying in the biological monitoring program. So look for some changes on this page in the coming months too. This page. So this back to our landing page here. I'm just going to continue down the page. There's a lot of good information as you scroll down that initial information. So there's good photos on there of some of our projects. And then we get into some pertinent WPRP resources. One of the new things that we have up here is BMP maintenance guidelines. If you click on that, it takes you to a page that has recommended maintenance requirements for various BMP practices. You can go here and just get a brief visual on it, but then you can also download a specific sheet. There's a stormwater quiz up here if you want to entertain your friends and family. That's always fun to do. Our stormwater remediation fee credit agreement, which will be talked about more in our credit overview session, but this is a quick link to that area. I'm not going to get into it in detail here, but that is a quick link to that, and that's probably something that you'll want to utilize as you implement your BMP projects. Our financial assurance plan is up here. That is basically required by the state that we show how we plan to acquire or use our financial resources and make sure that we have the financial resources available to do the projects required by our permits. Explore Your Watershed is fairly new too. This basically describes what a watershed is, but down below is some pretty good information regarding specific watersheds. If you wanted to find out some more information about a particular watershed you're interested in doing work in or that you live in, you can either click on it on the map here, or if we clicked a particular one here, it brings up a map of what that watershed entails, the boundaries there, and a quick watershed description talks about some of the communities that are there, number of acres, the number of sub-watersheds, the land use, and then you can actually link directly to the watershed assessment that I showed you earlier by clicking on that link there. And then we list any local watershed organizations that may be pertinent down the bottom. So that's something new too. The science of stormwater, that link is really an educational link if you're looking for, directing to people to learn more about stormwater, or if you're looking something on your own, this is a good place to start. Our illicit discharge and detection and elimination program is required by our MS4 permit. This talks about that program, and it also has a tab on here that directs you if you see an illicit discharge happening in your community. You can call our environmental hotline, which is listed here. It is manned 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if there are any issues in your community, you can call that directly, report any issues. Reducing stormwater pollution at your home is a informational webpage that talks about different practices that residents, businesses can take on thinking about their day-to-day activities, from washing their car, from managing their household hazardous waste to pesticide use. Talking about trash here, one of the big things we're dealing with now, of course, is trash and pet waste. There's a pet waste tip card if you wanted to hand these out in your neighborhood if you're looking for something quick. It just talks about some of the issues surrounding pet waste and water quality. Again, there's several different types of practices that we promote to our residents here. Installing a rain garden. This is a web page that's managed by the, interestingly enough, Highways Department. It gives you the basic overview, talks about installation steps, recommended installation steps, and any tax credits that may be achievable from installing a rain garden. Our annual reports, self-explanatory. This is where we house our annual reports. Our fiscal years run from June 1 through June 30th. So each of these is based on a fiscal year, not necessarily a calendar year. These are updated every fall. The FY17 report just came out, so that's hot off the press. And then you can see our responsible boating program, and we have a link to the Severn River Commission, which we are heavily involved with here. On the side here, you see a couple of things. I'm going to start at the top. These are quick links to the WPRP fee information, the Watershed Protection and Restoration Fee, and that is really the fee that the counties collects on properties. Right now, most individual homeowners are paying about $85 a year for this fee. Commercial properties are, the fee is based on the amount of impervious surface that is on a commercial property. Again, this just gives you a quick detail on that. And if we go back here, we talk about the credit program. Anne Arundel County offers a couple of credit programs available for reducing that watershed protection and restoration fee. One is based on more larger projects that are maintained typically from a commercial or a private community, stormwater ponds and whatnot. And then our single-family property owners are also now available. Credits are now available to single-family property owners that install more of the small-scale under 5,000 square feet of land disturbance. So your rain gardens and rain barrels and whatnot are now, credit is now available for those. And we'll talk about that more in more detail in the credit session. But here you can link to all the application forms, talks about eligible property owners, credits, and part of the enforcement and inspection requirements regarding the credit program. Our appeals program is available to property owners that feel their bill was miscalculated or that their property, they got a bill for a property they don't own. There are various appeals that you can submit to our group if you have issues regarding your billing. And this page has all the forms that are available for that program. The FAQs is really a good place to direct if you have a specific question on the fee or on the credit program. You can see it here. We talk basic stuff here about what the program is, what it does. The watershed fee FAQs talk about how the fee is calculated, and if you have a specific type of an appeal, you can find more information about that here. And then, of course, there's a specific the specific appeal and credit tab here that takes you through specific types of issues you may have regarding the stormwater fee. And then down below that, this is a quick dashboard of the number of projects that the county has going on at any one time, and then the number of completed. This is updated pretty regularly. The WPRP MS4 attainment goals ties into our MS4 permit. That's the number of acres that we have to treat given the current permit. So that is basically an overview of our website. I will tell you that if you can't find something right away, that this search box is going to be your friend. It's very user-friendly, and it comes up with some good results. So if I type in rain garden here, it brings up a bevy of stuff here, but you can usually find what you're looking for pretty quick. So if you can't find it, just cruising the website, I suggest you use this search tool here. So, well, that's a quick overview of our website, and I hope you find it useful. Thanks.